Welcome to the Thursday, June 24th meeting of the Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission meeting. We have in attendance John Monroe, Council Attorney Stephen Lucas, Commissioner Heather Lake, Commissioner Renee Miller, Commissioner Arvin Jagdis, Commissioner Nicole Johnson, Commissioner, I'm not sure how to say your first name, Milo Ratzon, Commissioner Alex Mann, James Dalen, and Chamber Member Jim Shelton, and Katz is in attendance. We're going to, I guess, could you show the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes, I'm happy to. Those should have been included in your packet, and I will put those up on the screen if you give me just a moment.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson. Just a minute. Okay, go ahead, please.
I reviewed those in advance and I make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting and the work meeting.
We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Alex Mann, Commissioner Alex Mann.
So unless there's any discussion or any questions or suggested changes, Kamala can call on members one at a time for a vote.
Commissioner Monroe.
Aye.
Commissioner Lake.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Jagdis.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rapsong.
Yes.
Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
And aye for me.
So now,
So
Kamala, you'll announce the result, which is minutes approved 8-0, I believe.
Please speak, Renee.
I think Stephen Lucas was pointing out you're just going to say 8-0.
The motion was passed 8-0. I'm sorry, may I ask a question? Who's James? So I don't know if I need to call on him or not. I know some of the commissioners have moved and some are not in attendance, so I didn't know if he's a replacement commissioner or if he's just in attendance. Okay, thank you. We're moving on to old business. Okay, is there anyone who would volunteer to be a timekeeper for this meeting? Come on, somebody wants to do it. If there's anybody that doesn't want to be here all day for this meeting, you want to be the timekeeper? John, I see a smile on your face.
I'm fine being the timekeeper for today's meeting.
Thank you, Alex, for volunteering.
Sure.
We need to have elections. Yes, Commissioner Johnson. Just a minute.
You're muted. Can't hear you.
Okay, so this
Is
is
there any,
this is where I falter in my understanding of protocol. Is this where we discuss that? Because I have some issues that I would like to bring up about elections before we have elections.
yes, we could have a discussion about elections.
Okay. So my biggest gripe about how this is being carried forward is we're using a lot of pre-made documents that are being given to us from other commissions because, you know, yeah, we don't want to do a lot of work and all this stuff. But we are the CAPS Commission. We are a different type of commission, and we are trying to represent not just ourselves by far, like, you know, like, and that's to come, like how that, you know, how that ends up happening and looking what that looks like. But what I keep coming back to is this idea of like this hierarchy. And I understand we are already 11 commissioners. I do not understand why we have to have differentiation. I feel like the chairs can rotate and so can the record keepers and the timekeepers. And we don't have to have a secretary, a president. We don't have to have those old terms that we're like trying to get rid of, honestly, because those are the issues. The idea of the hierarchy and the power structure is what we are being formed to critique. So how are we going to be having a power structure of our own? And so this is what I'm bringing to the conversation. I feel like we definitely need a stat keeper, somebody who like washes the hands. We definitely need a chair, somebody who runs the meeting and they get picked at least the beginning of the next meeting. Like, I think that should rotate, or it can be for so long, but I don't think it should be for a whole year. You know, like I think everybody should have a chance to have fill all of those varied roles. I think that all of our voices are equally important, and we're all here. We applied for this, you know, like we're all here because we want to be, which is different than a lot of other situations sometimes when you're talking about this kind of stuff. You know, it ends up being your job and you have to do it. And we're not in that situation. We're all community members who have been actively, you know, outreached. So those are just my thoughts about elections in general. And I don't know if, I mean, as far as like offering alternatives, I do have some ideas about that, but I figured I would just put forth how I'm feeling in general before I get into too much more.
Well, we're going to discuss how we're going to run this group a little bit later in the meeting because we're going to do our bylaws. I mean, I guess we can maybe switch that section now if the group wants to do that, we can switch that to now if that's something that the group decides to do. Just a minute, Renee, I will acknowledge you in just a minute. And I understand what you're saying about everybody rotating, and I think that's a really good idea. But I know from having done this from just this little time that there's somebody that needs to be keeping track of it, that knows what's going on from week to week, because it's not just about like just running the meeting. There's stuff that goes on all through the time that the meetings aren't going on, that the people have to keep up with the emails that are going on and keep up with the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. It's not just about like what's going on right now in this meeting. This part right here is like a tiny part of it. And so, I mean, that's all I can say from having done it for this small amount of time. So just a minute. Renee, please speak. I mean, Commissioner Miller, please speak. Sorry.
I think if we had a really good idea from Mr. Lucas, from Stephen, what we have to do by law with the code that we have for the city that we have to follow, then at least we can start thinking about that for our for the bylaws. And like you said, Chair, that we are going to be discussing that. And so I move that we kind of change the agenda around a little bit and put the elections going forward until after we have bylaws in place. I don't know if I have a second, but we can still work on bylaws and tweak bylaws, but move those until we have a clearer idea of what we want as a commission, our bylaws to look like, so they aren't oppressive. So that's what I'm moving for, that we just hold off on that and maybe keep an interim chair and maybe vote to continue having an interim chair until we come up with those. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner, what?
So I think you have to ask for a second.
Okay, sorry.
Because
There's
actually,
a motion from Renee to hold the elections after we do the bylaws. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that from Mr. Commissioner Jagdis?
Yes.
There's a second from Commissioner Jagdis. Okay. Commissioner Monroe, we're going to do a vote. Commissioner Monroe, what's your vote?
Can we have discussion or no? Do we vote?
yes,
Oh, sorry.
and 2 rounds.
We have discussion for 2 rounds, and we're going to have 3 minutes for everyone to speak. Do you think that's enough, everyone?
And just a point of order here, discussion would be limited to the motion to essentially amend the agenda.
Right.
Hmm.
So, Commissioner Wonder.
Yeah, I support the motion, and as I hear it, and I guess I need to make sure I'm hearing it correctly, otherwise I will amend it, that the motion is to put off election of officers until we've agreed on bylaws. And this is the part I didn't hear, but I guess I'm assuming in the motion that we will keep the existing interim officers until we've approved our bylaws and had new elections. Is that all assumed to be part of this motion, or do I need to amend that?
Go ahead and clarify, Renee, since it's your motion.
I believe
Commissioner Miller, since it's your motion.
I believe we will be trying to find someone to take some notes of some kind. I don't, for an interim secretary, because Commissioner Lake had resigned that post because she has so many other hats she's wearing in our community. And thank you, Commissioner Lake, for doing that for the time you did. But we do need somebody to keep track of notes. So I don't know how that would work, Commissioner Winrow, on that particular question.
I'm doing that today, by the way.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Johnson, you were the next person that had your hand up to speak.
Yeah, I took it to mean that what Commissioner Winrow took it to mean, that not only does it move the election of whatever officers need to be elected, or however that ends up looking, it moved the elections to the end of organizing our bylaws. And then until then, we operate underneath this known format using Robert's rules with the interim chairs in place. And then, of course, we would need to, that's probably on the agenda somewhere, that we need to talk about an interim secretary. So there's that to be added. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm seconding that motion if that's what needs to be done. I don't really, that's what I understood it to mean, and that's, yeah.
Commissioner Miller.
Now we're starting to get into some discussions a little bit, and I don't know if that's really allowed per se, but I can say that I will continue to do my best as the interim co-chair, but I've had a death in the family, so I may have to ask some other people to step in to help with that role a little bit. From time to time, just give a helping hand because I've got a lot on my plate right now.
Commissioner Johnson, we can't. It's stuck. Yes, Commissioner Miller. Are there any other comments?
Here,
I was just gonna say, I can help co-chair if needed.
Who said that?
and I just said that, and Nicole, Commissioner Johnson, we didn't hear a word you said. You were muted.
That's because I was talking to my son.
That's what I figured. I figured that out after I. I would, we would, Commissioner Repson, we would appreciate that. Thank you. Are there any other comments on this topic? All right, I think we're ready for the vote. So the vote is on agreeing to wait to have the elections until after we've created the bylaws. Commissioner Lake,
Aye.
Commissioner Jagdis,
Aye.
Commissioner Outsom,
Yes,
Commissioner Mann,
Aye, sorry.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes,
Commissioner Monroe,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes,
aye. So the ayes have it 8-0. Just a minute. Oh, the next topic. Well, okay, I had asked for everyone to give me their new email address, but we still had some stragglers in that came last night. So I'm gonna ask again, if you have a new email address that you would like to use for the commission, could you please send that to me? And I'm also gonna ask that if you could please send your telephone number that is the best contact for you to use for the commission. Could you send that to my email address as well? And this is gonna sound weird, but if it's a new topic, could you send a brand new email? That way we won't have like a chain of 50,000 emails that we have to try and search for the topic. Because sometimes that's very difficult. And
I agree.
If we could try and do that, it would be helpful, I think. Did you all bring the list of things that you would like to discuss or work on for the commission? All right.
I did, and I'd also like to try to screen share. I've never done that before, so we'll see if I can do it.
Well, we'll start with you, Commissioner Lake.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to figure out, let me see, how to screen share. Oh, goodness. This might not work out.
All right.
Here, let me try.
It should,
Just a moment. I'm trying to find the file is the thing. Well, I'll try this another time, I guess. I don't know. Someone can show me. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm taking so long. I
Okay.
think I've got it now. Let's see. I think this is the right one here. Mm,
We're all just learning,
Ah,
so we're learning
computers.
together.
Cities. For responding to mental health emergencies. And so I just investigated where there are towns like in Oregon, and well, several other places that have already developed these teams, and it's gone really well. And they've only had maybe 2%. Only had to use police about 2% of the time, and they've actually
Did we lose Heather?
I think we might have lost Heather.
I see she's rejoining the meeting now. While we're waiting for her to hop back on, does anyone have to leave by a specific time today? I want to make sure, I know there are several things on the agenda, and I want to make sure you all get to the electronic meeting policy, given that next month we are likely going to be operating at least partially in person. And I think having that policy in place before next month is important. So we need to make sure we get to that while we've still got a quorum. So does anyone need to leave at any specific time? I know we're coming up on 1 o'clock now.
thanks for keeping an eye on things like that, Mr. Lucas.
Sure. Heather, yeah, are you able to? Sure.
I admitted her, but
Oh. Let me see. Heather and Renee, you both should be co-hosts now, so you can unmute if you need to. So Heather, I don't know if you were finished with your thought. You kind of got cut off in the middle.
Yep.
I think you're still muted.
she's in the chat. She can't hear anyone.
Oh,
So I don't know what's going on. She says she's not going to try that again, but
gotcha.
You're muted.
she might have to leave and come back in.
Yeah, Heather, if you try to log, I know you just did this, if you try to log back in, it might help things. So Camel, I don't know if you want to call on anyone else while Heather gets that sorted out.
Commissioner Jagdis, would you like to go over the, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Miller?
I just wanted to read what Commissioner Lake said in chat. She said she would share her ideas later when she wasn't having technical difficulties. So
Okay.
yeah, whoever was next is fine. I just wanted to share that in chat in case someone had missed it. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Jagdish, would you like to go over your ideas and topics that you would like to work on with the commission?
Sure. So I brought this up last week, but my primary, I guess the primary question that I feel we should answer first before proceeding to other topics is simply what the role of policing and various other existing, I guess, public safety infrastructural, organizations should be. So I know that everyone has different ideas about what certain responses should be to certain situations. And I'd be more than happy to delve into that. And this can kind of be a gateway into that. But I know that there's other task forces and, organizations within Bloomington working to find, a positive future for policing. And I think that while our focus should be a lot more macroscopic, I think it's a kind of unspoken understanding that that's going to be a predominant topic for us as well. So for us to kind of assign or quantify, or I guess just understand exactly what that role is going to be before proceeding to, I guess, find other initiatives, I think it might be a little bit helpful. So in summation, I think what I was suggesting we start with is just defining what the existing infrastructure is for, certain emergencies and where we want police to slot in and where we want them to be replaced, for lack of a better word. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, hi, thanks. So human security is 7 categories. And community security is only one of them. And there's this nuanced idea between the idea of public or community safety and public and community security, right? And so that's where I'm very interested in defining what that means to this group, what public safety is to us, what what I mean, as we move forward to make these recommendations, what parts of that public safety come out of more than just the traditional sense of that word. For instance, the 7 issues are economic security, food security, health security, environmental security, personal security, community security, and political security. Now, nowhere in there does that talk about policing, okay, first of all. And then, I'm not going to get too much into it, but what I'm bringing here is I want to bring a harm reductionist view. So harm reduction science gives us a proven scientific method to combat citizens' institutionalized oppression by the current authoritarian power systems. Harm reduction accepts that harm will occur, anticipates it by putting interventions in place when it does happen, and then responds to without judgment and reduces it. In contrast, policies written with severe behavior restrictions and no allowance for variance, abstinence interventions have been proven to have just as harmful outcomes as the supposed addictions they're meant to control. this harm or structural violence is built into the laws of our community. This violence institutionalized racism, ableism, classism et al. Into our government. And once we as citizens have learned to identify it, we must attempt to mitigate it. Harm reduction interventions do just that. They are designed to alleviate the severity of adverse outcomes by responding to the harm through mitigating attempts that allow all affected individuals to retain their agency, instead of attempting to prevent adverse effects by imposing the administration of coercive actions and policies. According to the American Public Health Association, in January 2021, Utah joined many other jurisdictions across the United States by declaring institutional racism as a public health threat, in addition to the known public safety threat. Just this recently, the Monroe County Commissioners did the same thing. They drafting, I don't know if it actually got passed at this point. I wrote this a while back. Anyways, this is what I wish to nurture. This shift in perspective is what I wish to nurture on this and where I'm coming from, sitting on this board. A trauma-informed perspective is what I will bring to the table as a member of the Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission. I believe that public safety policymakers should be taking into account the current public health evidence base. Specifically, policymakers should be recognizing that specific demographics in our societies have been consistently in crisis for decades, if not longer. That is, the physical and mental safety of parts of our population have never been consistently or fully protected. I believe this means that policymakers, one, need to use harm reduction theories, which focus on reducing the ongoing injuries, triggers, and dangers that many sectors of our population continue to face regularly going about the course of their daily lives. And policymakers can then also, two, use community scale versions of successful behavior modification interventions to put this harm reduction into specific practice and mitigate identified and potential public safety concerns. In my opinion, public health research findings culminate all of the outcomes of previous public safety decisions, meaning a public health crisis that we're having right now is nothing more than an indicator of a currently unmet public safety need. I could go on, I'm not going to. You get the point. That's where I am. We need to think about bringing trauma-informed care into our policy and trauma-informed perspectives. And we need to, and that's why we're here. And our city council fought for that. So we need to make sure that when we organize ourselves and our bylaws, that we are not using the same rules that we are fighting against. Those are my thoughts and what I'm bringing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Miller.
I made a short list. I think that was what we were discussing right now, and we still have a timekeeper, right? Okay, so if you could, Commissioner Mann, just raise your hand like this. When I get to about 15 seconds, I'll wrap up whether or not I'm done or not. For now, because we have agreed to that. I think those are pretty oppressive rules, and I would agree with Commissioner Johnson that we can look at those kinds of things going forward, but that's what we've agreed to today. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So things that I'm interested in and what safety looks like to me is definitely security and feeling secure. And that does include many of the things that Commissioner Johnson said. It's not just about policing, and I certainly don't want to make it about us against them, because that's not what it is at all. We need to all work together to have security for everybody in our commission, or for everybody in our community, excuse me. And also, Commissioner Ratsam, thank you. I will call on you when I need some help for co-chairing. I can get a hold of you. I know how to, so thank you for that. So what does safety look like to me? Racial equity, common sense policing, corruption in policing, classism, mental health issues, making sure we start it from an anti-oppressive place. We've kind of discussed that already. Being inclusive and non-assumptive, non-deprecating, non-offensive language, demilitarization of our police departments, making sure we reach out and send invitations to others to be included in our meetings when we have them, so they can also be part of the dialogue. I want to help build bridges with our community. I want to talk about the occupancy affidavits that were required recently. Ableism, terrible thing. So that's a lot. And I think the reason why I suggested this as a whole, did you raise your hand? I'm sorry. I haven't seen your hand, Commissioner, if you have. So I think the reason for this exercise was to get an idea of where everybody is, what everybody is thinking. And so we can narrow that down a little bit, and then come together in groups to work on things. That doesn't mean we're gonna not address the structural things that we want to have done and what we want the structure to look like for us. But we can do more than one thing at a time is what I'm saying. Thank you. I yield.
Commissioner Outsom.
Hello. Yeah, I've been thinking about this commission a lot, particularly in regards to process, because that's something I did a lot. I've studied a lot anyway, is decision-making processes for problem solving and innovation, which is what we're doing on this commission, in a way, problem solving and innovating. And I've been thinking that that we should try to agree as soon as possible. It sounds like everyone's on the same page. You know, we're using slightly different terms about, you know, deciding on definitions of what public safety or policing is, but it sounds like we all want to agree first on the overall approach to our mission. And I think that should be, I would argue for that to be, and again, I think everyone here has agreed, but just to summarize, I think that should be a research-based, consent-based problem-solving approach. We should do analysis that's science-based and methodological. So that means having a process ahead of time for how we're going to do the research, what kind of research, how it's going to be gathered, how it's going to be analyzed, and to have a decision-making process finally that prioritizes impact and harm reduction among the most vulnerable groups in our community. And yeah, that's basically it. I also came up with, I think, four steps that I think we should be sure to take when we do our research, like kind of 4 different kinds of research, I guess, to make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel, right? In gathering our data and in thinking of innovative policies or policy approaches. So the first one is gathering relevant data from available sources, city sources, right? So mayor's office, common council, police, fire. We talked a little bit about talking with police and fire, but there's also state regulatory bodies and agencies we may want to contact. And then next, we would be gathering all existing data on crime, violence, abuse, especially towards vulnerable organizations, among local organizations that we can identify who people on this commission probably know most of these organizations locally who serve and care and house these people, our targeted populations, if you will, the vulnerable populations. And so we can gather data from them. And next, we have been tasked, right? We were specifically asked with gathering primary data ourselves on unmet public safety needs. You know, targeting, again, we may want to organize that by vulnerable groups and say, oh, I'm close with this group, I'll do some research there or whatever, but there's a need for some primary research possibly. And then finally, which it sounds like everyone has probably already started doing, I know I have, gathering secondary data online for existing innovative public safety programs. Again, so we're not reinventing the wheel, but I think it's also important to keep in mind, we need to do a lot of kind of local research as well, you know, besides just kind of seeing what other cities have done. And then I guess one last thing, since I have another second, since I have the floor.
That's over 3
just got
minutes,
this
just
book.
letting you know.
Oh, sorry. Okay. One
That's okay.
last thing, this book, The End of Policing, very good. He covers a lot of the stuff we're talking about, and he categorizes it by section: mental illness, homelessness, etc. So I'd recommend this to anyone else on this commission who may be interested. It just came out. Okay, thanks.
Is it by? Oh. Who is it by, Commissioner Ratson? Thank you. Commissioner Warner.
Thank you. I wrote my ideas out like I think most of you did, and I have a quick question. Is that, would it be helpful if we all submitted what we wrote to either Commissioner Johnson, who's doing the minutes for today, or to our chair, just so they can all be compiled? Okay, so maybe that's something we could do, is just all submit our notes to Commissioner Johnson and the chair. So quickly, I'll just read what I wrote. Public safety means to me, I know we're kind of meshing a couple of agenda items here. Bloomington is a city where every community member that wants these things has a safe place to sleep at night, has daily access to healthy food, mental health services, primary care services, and a living wage job. The second comment I wrote was all Bloomington city departments enact policies, attitudes, and services that place the safety of community members at the center of their decision making. I mean, if we could leave a legacy as a commission, to me, that could be it, that every time a city department or division or somebody's making a decision, one of the things they're always thinking about is the safety of community members and the impact of their decisions on safety. The third thing I wrote is Bloomington could be a national example for promoting and providing programs and services that ensure the safety of all people. I think we have a real opportunity to do something cool that other people can learn from us from eventually. And then in terms of specific topics, this echoes some of what many of you have already been saying. Suggest that we create subtopic committees to gather information and best practices, so we're all not working on the same thing. We take our kind of interests and expertise, and I hope we make those decisions soon so we can kind of get going on some of the more interesting stuff. The second thing, what local data can we begin collecting from whom, who's going to do the collecting, and how do we approach the idea of a survey for the population that was just mentioned. I have a suggestion that maybe every meeting we carve out 15 minutes for a guest speaker so that we can be learning as we're developing process and making decisions. And two really great examples already: harm reduction approaches, trauma-informed care. If we could get a little 15-minute presentation in every meeting's agenda, we could maybe all raise our capacity and understanding of these topics so we're on the same page. So that's just a suggestion for future agendas. And then the last thing I wrote is just sort of anecdotal. My son is a commercial airplane pilot, and so I have the ability to fly anywhere in the country for free on all the major airlines. And so if we get to the point where doing site visits in communities to meet with people, I'd be happy to help do that, and maybe could even get some flight benefits for people on the commission so we could go in a team to visit some of these innovative programs around the country. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Miller, did you have something you need to say?
I'm sorry, I just forgot to lower my hand.
Okay. Commissioner Lake.
Okay, sorry about all that. I am not gonna ever try to screen share again. I'm just gonna read some of what I wrote down and then kind of discuss it after that. Can you still see me when I've got this up?
Yes.
Okay, I've got the paper up. So the alternative dispatch service says that I researched. They have a team of social workers, therapists, and crisis counselors in various fields. There was, like I researched, as I said, some crisis response teams in Oregon, in Houston, and other cities, and they've been really, really successful. So what I said was, since I think safety for me would be reducing stigma in the community, in police, for police, for fire departments, for anybody who's going to be dealing with people with mental illnesses. I think it's important to educate them directly with people who actually have those disorders, and reduce the stigma, and also actually present these to those entities directly instead of like through a paper or something like that. I think that would really help a lot. Um, and more education, especially with people with PTSD issues, because when with PTSD issues, authority figures can be really triggering, especially if they have a gun and handcuffs, and or not even just police alone, but authority figures at all can sometimes be a trigger for some people who have PTSD. And then, I think the community should set up some things that's in accordance like with 911, or we could have a separate emergency number and set up one of these crisis response teams. And we could identify different crises and how they're being responded in our research. And I think bring up the next CAPS meeting, brainstorm which people, organizations to contact regarding forming a task force, and reach out by email or phone to people who've already been instrumental in creating these task forces, and find out what steps with city council and city government to begin forming this task force. So basically, as I'm saying, I think safety for me would be reducing stigma, educating authority figures on how to deal with people, especially with things like PTSD, more education, and the decriminalization of mental health crises. I feel like because lack of education, a lot of people who are having a crisis are seen as dangerous, when actually those with mental health issues are more likely to have crimes done to them than do crimes.
That's 3 minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mann, would you like to go?
And that
You're muted.
Is that better?
yeah, I yield.
Can you all hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I really agree with a lot of what I'm hearing. I especially agree with taking a harm reduction and trauma-informed approach. And I think we would have enough resources among the commissioners already to educate ourselves on those topics. But I agree that basically we need crisis intervention teams to respond to public safety issues instead of having police respond to them like criminal issues. Not trying to set up an us versus them mentality here, but I think we all agree that the current system is not working and that police are ill-equipped to deal with a lot of public health and public safety issues. A lot of time those issues affect the most vulnerable among us, and it's going to be our job to try to give those people a voice when we create these alternative crisis intervention teams. I've done a little bit of studying on Cahoots in Eugene, Oregon, which is an example of what we're talking about. I believe Commissioner Lake was referring to programs like that. It's worth it for us to study those, as well as collect our own data here locally, which again, I seem to be in agreement with the rest of the commissioners on that. So collecting data locally, studying what's worked in other cities, and trying to figure out what public safety issues could be better responded to by crisis intervention teams that are not the police. It sounds to me like we're all, in general, in agreement that that's a basic approach here. Thanks.
Commissioner Miller?
Are we on round 2, Chair? If we
No.
are, I think you are still going, if you are going to, right? And then we'll go on to round 2. I'm just just asking for clarity.
Yeah. Commissioner Johnson, did you need to speak? Commissioner Johnson, did you have a question?
You're muted.
Okay, I guess she didn't have a question. What I was gonna say is, when I thought about what safety means to me, I moved back to Bloomington because I was threatened by a white supremacist. So at the time, safety to me was, if I came back to Bloomington, I figured the police would protect me because my dad was the first black police officer and it would look bad if they let me die. That to me at the time was what safety was. But my idea of safety is different now because I'm at least safe on that front for right now, that the white supremacists aren't literally trying to kill me. But it's not the same here because there are white supremacists and they're in our community. So I used to be able to go to the farmer's market when I grew up, and like my sister sang, and we volunteered, but I can't really do that now and know that I'm safe. I used to go to the lake and go camping because I would run to the lake because I lived by there, and that was like my practice because I was a hurdler. And I can't necessarily go to the lake now because people will try and lynch you, and that's not necessarily safe now either. And we used to be able to go and protest about things that we didn't really agree with, but it's not necessarily safe to do that either because people might run you over with a car. So right now, I don't really feel safe here in Bloomington because of those things. And I think that something needs to be done because this is my community. I grew up here. I volunteered here. I put my sweat and blood and tears into this community to try and make it a better place. I want this community to be a place where everybody feels safe. I want there to be accessible housing that's also affordable, where Section 8 vouchers have places where landlords will take them and people can actually get houses with their Section 8 voucher and have a place to live, because that's not what there is in Bloomington. There aren't landlords that will take those vouchers because they could get rent from students and charge $1,000 per room. I want there to be places where people that have chronic pain in Bloomington can get help, or where they could have something like they have in Indianapolis, where they only get like a fee that they have to pay or a fine for a certain amount of marijuana, because they understand that people that have illnesses like multiple sclerosis and things like that, that's the only thing that helps. And that there's some kind of thing for people that have chronic pain, because right now there are thousands of people in Bloomington that have chronic pain and they feel like there is no help for them. So there needs to be some kind of solution for people that have chronic pain and for people that have been criminalized and put into jail for low offenses that can be back out and be able to work, instead of being put back in jail and put on probation and going in jail and being caught in that system. We need to do something about that. Maybe we need to work on a different type of restorative justice in Bloomington. We need to do something about those types of issues if we want to have equity in our community and have a safe place. Safety isn't just about the police, which I have issues with, because there's been issues where people have died mysteriously in police custody. I mean, recently there was an issue where a man was killed in a car accident and he was trapped in the vehicle, but it turns out he was trapped in the vehicle because the police had guns held on him, and he was in the car burning to death, and part of the reason he was trapped in the vehicle was because there were 2 guns held on him. So I mean, I don't want that to be the community that I live in. I want it to be
Sorry to
safe.
interrupt, but that's 3 minutes, Chair.
Thank you. We are now on the 3-minute round for, yes, Commissioner Miller.
I would like to hear when we're at the 3 minutes, maybe saying, you know, could you finish up in 15 seconds or something like that, where a person can finish their thought. I'm not making a motion. I would just kind of like to not cut off people when, you know, that's all. And I'm very much appreciate you taking the time, Commissioner Mann. That's not an easy task, but I have noticed that some people have been cut off with in mid thought, and I think we don't want to do that either. So if we could have a little grace, that would be good. Like, can you finish up? It's just a suggestion. Anyway, go ahead.
And so unless there are any objections from any other commissioners, I will give people 15 seconds to finish up at the 3-minute mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for volunteering to do that job.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, so this is my second round, 3 minutes. Thank you so much, Alex. Yes, please, 15 minutes, fine. This is why buzzers are great. Anyway, so I agree with everything that I've heard so far. Some of the things that I wanted to bring up, relevant data, city sources. Are we going to be cooperated with? Is the police going to give us this data, or are we going to have to FOIA it? That takes weeks. We can do that. We just need to know what kind of a relationship. So we need to actually maybe have a working group that sits down and drafts. Once we break out into our working groups, we need to sit down and draft letters to the organizations that we're going to be communicating with, right? Because we have, like, you know, the police is obviously one place we're going to be communicating. The mayor's office is another place we're going to be communicating. And so maybe we can, you know what I mean? We can work it out, something like that. Crisis intervention teams. Does this have to do with the local privatization of EMS? I wanted to point something out. I've been having lots of mental health issues in my family. And so I've been at like umpteen hospitals and different counties in the last couple weeks. And long and the short of it is in Morgan County, EMS is Morgan County Township, is Morgan County EMS. And in Indianapolis and Marion County, you have township EMS, right? And then I found out that in other counties, did you know that when somebody doesn't have a payee, like, you know, they're SSI person and they can't get a payee because, you know, like Center Soma won't do it anymore. They have tons of these people in town right now. The townships, because they are the overseers of the poor, are the individuals that do this. Well, they don't, I don't know. Everything's been farmed out here locally. So IU Health is privatized EMS for our county. So not only does the police have their data, right? All EMS data is coming from a freaking hospital. Like, it's not even a public source. So I don't even know if we're going to be able to get that data, like, honestly, because it's not, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's a business. So that's something to think about. I like the idea about future agenda items, like a school. Also Minneapolis, we need to look at Minneapolis. Minneapolis is passing amazing things right now. I know Oregon was also mentioned, but that. And then we are seeing this person-centered.
You have 15 more seconds, Commissioner Johnson.
We are seeing this person-centered in our current grant structures for traffic and calming projects in neighborhoods is now being people-centered. So things are changing.
Are we going in the same order, Chair? For second round?
No, because the people on the screen have moved, so, and I don't have it written down what order everybody was in, so your faces are in different positions now. Renee, Commissioner Miller.
I heard a lot of, am I unmuted? Yes. I heard a lot of very important things from other people. Commissioner Lake really hit it home with working on stigma. So I think hopefully we'll have a work session where we can start compiling work groups, and that might be something that we can propose after this round to maybe work on something like that, as well as propose also to move an item on the agenda up because it has to be covered this meeting. And I know I have another meeting having to do with the estate of my brother who just passed. So I can tell you what safety doesn't look like to me, and that's having the military buzzing around over my head, or arriving home and having 2 police officers sitting in front of my house in their cruisers, and I'm going, what's happening? Is there something I need to know? No, we're just sitting here. I didn't feel safe. I very rarely would feel, no, I can't think of a time ever that I would feel safe with a police officer right at my house. So I just can't think of it. I don't feel safe with that. And I look in my rear view mirror if I'm driving, I'm checking myself saying, did I turn on my turn signal? So I'm not saying that those people are bad, but I am saying that's not what safety looks like to me. So I think we can create security and safety in this community in a different way. And that's what we're here to at least give our opinions about. Whether they're listened to, who knows, but at least our voices can be heard. And let's get to making some groups and get down to the nitty gritty. And if we don't get the info we've asked for, that's going to say more about the people that don't want to share it than about us trying to actually get it. Just remember that. If people don't want to share it, why don't they want to share it? And social media is a wonderful thing to well, actually, I better not say that because that's probably not a good idea as a commission to blow things up on social media. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Commissioner Jagdis.
So I might have missed the transition there, but it appears that we've begun discussing the next agenda item, which would be our personal definitions of public safety. I just wanted to clarify that earlier what I was talking about was more just topics, because I thought that was the agenda item. But we appear to have delved a little bit more into our personal experiences and things like that, which still have value, and I still think that it's been good to hear from everyone in that regard. But I did quickly want to reference the fact that as a commission, we don't really have a defined mandate as it pertains to certain groups that we feel may be perpetrators of certain issues as they may pertain to people's personal security. And what I mean by that is that, we can look at public safety at large and see what issues are affecting our city the most. And I'll give an example of this. I have some experience in municipal governance, and I've personally worked on initiatives in my hometown and other places to address issues within the community. Like there was a biker that was killed on his way home by a truck because our lanes were very small in my hometown. And so the response to that was to put up barriers between the lanes or the driving lanes and the bike paths. And so that was a form of public safety, and it had nothing to do with policing or anything else that we've discussed in that regard. And I know that in our city right now in Bloomington, there's a crisis of homelessness and a variety of other issues. And so I would encourage this commission to, rather than look into specific issues, we should also consider the fact that there are other issues that fall under the umbrella of public safety that might not have anything to do with our personal experience. And so just before we go in with an agenda or anything else like that, I would invite everyone to keep an open mind and to accept other topics that may come to us rather than our seeking them out actively. And yeah, with that, I yield the floor.
Commissioner Watson.
Yeah, I just want to echo Commissioner Jagdish's comments and reemphasize, I think it's important for us to at least have some idea over what this process, this problem solving, the steps that we're going to follow in this problem solving process before we start taking them. And if it's okay with everyone, I'd be happy to make a first draft like I discussed. That's just a general kind of, research-based problem solving steps, and send that out to everyone. And we maybe could discuss that in the next meeting and vote on it or something. But I think it's important for us to make sure that we are as well. And this is related to what you were saying, Commissioner Jagdish, because as he was saying, it's important for us before we get started to not have all these confirmation biases on what we think are going to be the best policies, right? We're supposed to actually analyze the data and see what are the best policies for our community. I think that's what he was saying. And I agree on that, but I also agree that I think all the ideas we've given here are probably pretty good ones based on our own experiences. And to add to that, I also want to add that as a single woman who's lived in Bloomington 25 years, I do not feel safe here. I get assaulted at least 3 or 4 times a year by strange people when I'm out walking with my dog, even with my dog. And I wanted to add, I think that violence against women is a major problem in this town.
I agree. I would like for you to make that document that you talked about. Thank you. Commissioner Miller, could you take over for a second, please?
I can. I don't have the agenda in front of me, so somebody with the agenda, and I think we still are on round 2.
Aren't we dealing with actually the safety, what safety means to us now?
Yeah.
So
If nobody else wants to go, I'll go with that means, what it means, like, what it means to me. And first of all, I don't feel safe. I don't believe a person is the culmination of their behaviors. For example, biological science has proven that our bodies completely replace ourselves approximately every 7 years.
Caitlin.
I'm sorry, should I not go?
Commissioner Woodrow had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
think
can't
prior
see
to you.
everybody's screens, so I do apologize for that.
That's okay. That's okay. So I'm just trying to keep it real here.
No,
So
I just had one quick comment kind of on the round 2 thing, and I had actually included my public safety comments in the first round, blended them together. But the only other comment I wanted to make as part of the round 2 was that I was sat in on several.
excuse me a moment. Excuse me a moment. Could Mr. Locust, could you mute Brown Sparks, please?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you.
I sat in some city council meetings back when they were talking about folks who didn't have a safe place to sleep being removed by the park. And one of the things I heard several times from a couple of commissioners, and I sort of thankfully don't even remember which ones they were, was this consistent theme of like, that's not our responsibility. That's not part of our charter. I don't remember the right word, but it was sort of this idea that the city has, or not idea, it's probably a fact. The city has like really specific, like a charter or roles and responsibilities. And consistently, I heard council members saying, that's not part of our responsibility. And so the point I wanted to make in terms of our commission, something we may want to look at in the future, is how do we work with the city to change whatever that is, the charter, the rules, I don't know what these people were referring to, so that providing support and services and for people who don't have a safe place to sleep or other people is part of the city's responsibility, so that they can't continue to say that it's not. So I just wanted to add that to our agenda for future conversations. And the other comment I wanted to make quickly was I really appreciate this group. Like I can't wait to meet face to face. I appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Thank you. If you could use the raise hand function, or you raise your hand in view, if you want to take a bite at the next round, that would be helpful.
I don't have a raise hand thing, just letting you know, so I can't raise my hand.
Okay. So you'll be after Commissioner Johnson. I believe she's next.
Okay, so first of all, it was County Legal that said that over and over in that meeting, by the way. That's who said it, lawyers. Okay, so I don't believe that a person is the culmination of their behaviors. For example, biological science proves that our bodies completely replace ourselves approximately every 7 years. Therefore, the belief that a person's identity consists of the totality of the documentation of their previous decisions, i.e. a rap sheet or record, is outdated. Based on this belief, legislators should update policies to echo the currently accepted scientific theories across disciplines, informing it and allowing people to change. Harm reduction will enable individuals to work on and transform past behaviors and patterns with the full understanding that change is not only possible, but very probable. So what I'm trying to say in here is like safety, that's safe. That's safe. The ability to change, the ability to know that I'm safe to grow, that I made a mistake and now I can fix that. That I'm not going to be penalized for the rest of my life. And it's just going to add on top. And I know we can't fix all of these problems, but this is something that we can potentially look at when we're looking at, Oliphant, particularly. and the way that the prosecutor chooses to bring cases in this county, which is definitely something I feel needs to go on the agenda near immediately. She's problematic in big, huge ways. But yeah, safety is about knowing you can go, right? These safe place signs, it's where you can go drop a baby off, I guess, and it's safe because you know you can go there and it's safe. Like, I can't run to a police station. That is not safe. And it's not really safe to run to the hospital either because they might call the police. So, like, you know, like, this is what we're talking about. Like, this goes back to like safety being a basic need. It's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, it's a basic need. And we can never become more. We can never grow. We can never become actualized. We can never get out of poverty. We can never get the job we want or be the father or parent we always want.
15 more seconds, Commissioner Johnson.
Before we have our basic needs met, because we're always too worried about where our next meal's coming from. So, or whether or not we're going to get shot, depending on who we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Lake?
Thank you. First of all, sorry about my stupid computer and all this stuff. I have really liked everything everybody said. I think you all have such good ideas, and I'm really excited about this commission. I stated some things that I felt would make me feel more safe, as far as being met with people who are educated and know how to de-escalate the situation, and understand what different crises looks like and how best to help that person. I would like to have a crisis line that people can call that will not immediately turn it over to authorities, but will actually try to get you through the crisis. And so you feel, I'll say so I feel like I can call a crisis line, and if I'm in crisis, it's not going to immediately be sent to, the police or EMTs or anything, unless I'm an immediate threat to myself right then presently. So that would really help. I think that would help a lot of people, because I think a lot of people don't want to call crisis lines because they're afraid it's going to be instantly people coming to their door. And I would, like I said, I would feel safer if there were stigma education. I was at one point I was in a group by NAMI that went to the different dorms at the college and basically gave a panel, and people, students could just ask us whatever they want, and we would talk to them about it. And I got so many people talking to me afterwards going, oh, I never realized that is what it's like. Or, wow, okay, this neighbor that I was nervous about, I don't have to be nervous about him because this is, this is safe and all that. So I guess just like everybody, I want to make sure that people who are having really, really hard times are treated, addressed in a safe and comfortable way. And I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lake. Could anyone who still hasn't spoken on the second round, please raise your hands so the chair can see you, because I see that she is back now. I don't see.
Commissioner Mann.
Yep, there we go.
I don't have a lot to add. I would just define safety using trust, I guess. Safety to me means that no matter who you are in the community, especially if you're among the most vulnerable, safety means that you trust that your neighbors and that the rest of the community and that the city's institutions will help you when you need them. And overwhelmingly, when I talk to people in this city and when I hear my fellow commissioners talk on this commission, there is some trust in our neighbors, there is some trust in our communities. There's not a lot of trust in the city's institutions. So part of our mandate will be to, if we can't rebuild that trust in the institutions, then maybe take something off the institution's plates and give it back to our neighbors and our community, the people we do trust, who are better equipped to handle our crises. That also extends to incarceration. I agree that we need to address the way people are charged, the way people are prosecuted, and especially the way people are incarcerated. I just got a article sent to me today from the B Square Beacon highlighting how there's been a 300+ page report that Monroe County jails have been over capacity for a number of years in a row, and they are basically failing. That's something that we should address. I don't know how to prioritize all this. I'm sure we'll figure that out along the way. I yield. Thanks.
All right.
Chair, I believe you're due for a second round.
I'm good. All I have to say is basically, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say than what I said before. I don't have any planned expectations of what the outcome will be or what methods that we'll use to achieve those things. I just feel like those are things that really need to be addressed in this community. Commissioner Johnson, did you have a question?
No, I have I guess because your hand is up, I have a hand up and I thought it was my hand. And so I went to lower it. And I was like, oh, it's not me. I'm on my phone, so it's a little different.
I understand.
But I do have a point of order. If we're done with point C of old business, talking about our CP definitions, I would like to make a motion that we talk about the electronic meeting policy that needs to happen so that we can get a vote on that for Mr. Lucas before we go below a quorum.
Yes, I was going to ask if that was okay. So,
I second that motion.
are we going to take a vote to change the agenda? Okay.
Oops.
Sorry.
You're gonna do roll call?
Commissioner, yes, I'm gonna do it by roll call.
Okay.
Commissioner Wonder. Well, I saw her coming back in the screen. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait because I see one coming back in the screen. So Commissioner Wonder.
Aye.
Commissioner Ratson, sorry. Commissioner Ratson.
Sorry. What are we doing? Are we taking a vote?
We're taking a vote to move the section on electronic meeting policy to the current part of the agenda so that we can do that before we lose the quorum.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Lake,
Uh, I,
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Jagdish,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Aye, and the ayes have it 8-0.
Thank you. And if it's all right with the chair, I'm happy to speak to this
I'm
item.
gonna turn it over to you since you know more about this than I do.
Thank you. Yes, this is something new that all the city's boards and commissions are having to consider. Obviously, we're operating completely virtually at the moment, thanks to a recent state law that was passed. At the start of the pandemic, the governor issued various executive orders that allowed governing bodies of governments to meet electronically. And then just a couple of months ago, the state legislature passed a new law that spells out rules that cities can follow during a public health emergency, which we're still under at the moment. And that health emergency declaration extends till July 1st. And so it could be extended further. But what I really suspect will happen is that the governor won't extend that, which means we'll be under rules that apply in normal times. And so the policy that was included in
Shoot.
that
Oh,
mirrors pretty closely. Can you hear me?
you're breaking up a
Sorry,
little bit.
did I cut out there?
Yeah, just for a second.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Sorry about that. The policy in your packet, again, mirrors a policy recently adopted by the city council and also largely tracks what state law. So I'll just quickly run down the main features. So can hold meetings and allow members to participate electronically as long as 50% of the members are present in person. And again, these are rules that apply when there is no public health emergency declared. So 50% of you would still have to be in person. Members can participate electronically in up to 2 meetings in a row before having to attend in person. And there are exceptions for military service, an illness or other medical condition, the death of a relative, or certain other emergencies. So I know some of you have mentioned medical conditions that might prohibit you from attending in person. Please let us know if you'd like to talk more about that. There's something that we may need you to sign to allow you to attend more than 2 meetings in a row virtually. This also says that a member has to participate in at least half of the meetings in a year in person. And so again, there are exceptions for the same things: military service, illness, death of a relative, or other emergencies that can apply. There are certain actions that won't apply to this commission that can't be done electronically, such as setting a budget, reducing personnel, the other things listed in your policy. This commission shouldn't be getting into any of that, but it's listed there because it's in state law. In the event that another health emergency is declared in the future, or if the current health emergency is extended past July 1st, the policy states that you can automatically meet the way you're meeting now over Zoom, that all members can participate electronically. And again, one of the stipulations that would always apply to electronic meetings is that members can be both seen and heard, that when any member is participating electronically, the votes be taken by roll call vote, which you've been doing here today. that the minutes or record that's kept contains certain information, and Commissioner Lake was able to include those in the minutes that you all approved. So it's nothing burdensome, just a few details to keep in mind. And another big thing is that the public has to be able to attend and observe the meeting. And so today we've got members of the public on the meeting, so we're complying with that requirement. Once we go back to, I guess I'll call them hybrid meetings for lack of a better term, where we have members both in person and attending electronically, the public will need to be able to see both of those, groups of members. So the city staff is still working on setting up conference rooms and making sure we've got the technology in place to allow for all that. So I'm hoping, in addition to adopting a policy today, you all will be able to schedule your next meeting, even if that's not setting your regular meeting date or time. At least we'll be able to get the next meeting scheduled. And I would encourage you to look later in July to give us as much time as possible to make sure we've got all the technology in place to accommodate your next meeting, which will likely have to be a hybrid meeting where half of you are in person and then up to, I think, 5 of you could attend remotely. So I went through that pretty quickly. Again, the policy was included in your packet, and if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think most other boards and commissions are adopting similar policies, and happy to answer any questions or talk through any points that I covered too quickly.
Commissioner Wonder.
Do we need a motion to accept the policy? Is that the action that needs to be taken?
So a motion to adopt, I believe it's numbered resolution 2101. So this is the commission's first resolution. And again, I'll also note that the resolution states that this policy would be incorporated into any bylaws that the commission adopts. So I know we haven't gotten to bylaws yet, but that way all the commission's bylaws, rules, and policies would be housed in kind of one document, and this policy would be incorporated into that. But yes, a motion to adopt this resolution is the appropriate motion.
Commissioner Miller.
So I believe we have discussion next, and then we can entertain motions. So I have my hand up for asking a few questions of Mr. Lucas. And that's why I have my hand up. If we were to adopt this, we can come back and amend, because I understand there's a time thing, a time constraint right now. So I'm assuming that we as a commission can come back and amend this. And how would we do that? Because I see some things that I would already want to amend, but I understand we need to do this, so.
Depending on the amendment, we could handle them today, although I know we're coming up on nearly 2 hours. If you'd like to pass something today, which I would encourage you to do, to allow for some form of virtual participation in July, that could just be done by a subsequent resolution. And I'm happy to help draft that up. If you know what you'd like to change, just contact us and we'll work something up to bring to the commission. So again, this is a new state law, and I realize that there may be changes that I would suggest after we see how this all works in practice. So the resolution that's in front of you today largely just copies what's in state.
You got slow again. You got slow again, Stephen.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think you're back now.
Okay.
You just had a slight thing. Thank you for answering that question. That was my main thing, is because as we go forward, seeing how it works, we'll probably want to tweak it a little bit. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't having our hands tied. So thank you.
Commissioner Johnson,
I make a motion to accept the electronic meeting policy.
I second it.
thank you, Commissioner Lake. We're going to take a roll call vote. Commissioner Monroe,
Aye.
Commissioner Atson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lake,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Jagdish,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes, I.
aye. And the ayes have it with 8, and there are 0 no's. So that passes. Did you have something to say, Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, point of order. Mr. Lucas mentioned setting the July meeting, and I thought that might be also something that we might want to go ahead and do before we lose quorum. And so I am making a motion that we set the July meeting and potentially all future meetings to be the 4th Thursday at 12:30, since this seems to work for all of us, at least until it doesn't, which would be July 22nd, which would be late July, which I hope would make all that late enough for Mr. Lucas. But that's my motion.
Commissioner Miller,
Well, I heard two things going on there. So I heard change the agenda. So I think we probably, I'm a little confused because that's a big motion. That's 2 motions in one.
The
Yeah.
reason why I said it like that is because there's actually no place on the agenda for setting the next meeting, and it's not on there at all.
It'll
So-
happen. It's gonna happen. So I appreciate that. Yeah, it's gotta happen. So thank
Right,
you.
and then Lucas brought it up, Mr. Lucas brought it up, so I was just trying to, but my motion is to set the next meeting.
That makes
So-
sense. That makes sense.
I was gonna do it during housekeeping, but other stuff got added
Right.
then, and that's why it didn't get done. So, sorry.
We're all new at this.
That's right. So I can't second a motion that sets the time on Thursday at 12:30. That's why I'm not seconding it because this actually isn't a good time for me. That's why I was going there. So
That's why I said that, because
Okay, so then I make a motion that we go back to a doodle poll.
Seconded.
all right. We'll take a vote. Commissioner Monroe,
Aye.
Commissioner Atson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lake,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Jagdish,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
I,
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
aye. So the motion passes, and we will do another doodle poll.
Is Becky gonna do that for us? She's
I will-
Yes, yes.
I will ask her, and I'm sure she will, because she's been very helpful on everything else. And
Okay.
it seems like the kind
Yeah,
of thing
I
that she would be willing to do.
Yes, staff will communicate with you all on scheduling the next meeting. I appreciate that we may not be ready to set a regular meeting time today, so we'll be in touch.
Just 1 second. For some reason, it just switched out, and now it won't pull up the right document. Sorry about that, everyone.
And just a point of information, I'm going to have to
At
hop off at
12:30?
12:30. I've got another.
That's
Yes,
gonna be
That's
hard.
gonna be
It's
hard since
2:15.
it started at 12:30.
I would suggest if there are items that we're not able to get to, those would appear at the next meeting's agenda under old business. I know there was a discussion of an attendance policy and then the bylaws. I would suggest that those could both be carried over to old business at the next meeting. You all are welcome to talk about those, but if there are questions.
We will get to the policy at the next meeting, but I will report some information at this meeting because I have talked to the other commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Monroe.
Two quick questions for the chair. One is, and maybe a point of clarification, can this doodle poll sort of setting a date for a while? Or are we going to keep doodle polling every month? I would prefer a doodle poll that says what date will work for us
Forever.
or something. So that's one suggestion. The other is, could we establish a bylaws committee to do some work between now and the July meeting? So we're actually presented with something specific and we don't just keep kicking the can down the road.
That's one of the things that we were gonna try and do is discuss the possible work group for the bylaws. It's actually on the agenda. Hello, I put it there. We did. So yes, we can. Commissioner Johnson.
Before Mr. Lucas leaves, I just have a question. The attendance code says a member of the board, commission, county may be removed for cause include but not limited to failure to attend 3 consecutive regularly scheduled meetings. Are work sessions that we schedule in a meeting considered a regularly scheduled meeting? I wouldn't think that they are, but I'm curious.
Commissioner
Mr. Lucas, Mr. Lucas was trying to answer that.
I would agree with your assumption that the work session wouldn't typically be a regular meeting. And again, this commission hasn't really set a regular meeting date and time. We've been scheduling meetings as you go along. And so I do think if we continue to have attendance problems from members, the provision that's cited on your agenda allows for the appointing authority. So in this case, the city council to remove those members. Certainly if this commission wanted to make a recommendation or request, if you continue to see attendance problems, you could do that and request that the city council take action to remove that member and replace them with someone who can attend. But I know we've been scheduling these, and this typically comes up with commissions that aren't just getting started. So I would recommend at least having a few more meetings, and we have been trying to reach out to the folks that haven't.
I've talked to them.
Yeah. So yes. Did you want to add anything, Chair? You said you talked to them.
I talked to them both.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're aware of our meetings, I take it?
Yes, they're very aware of the meetings. So they have been aware of the meetings since they got everything. So they were scheduled enough for them to know.
So this on the agenda as an agenda item, Mr. Lucas. So if we could stay on track with that, I would appreciate it, because that way we're going to move more quickly through what we need to do on business side of things. So yes, are you saying, Mr. Lucas, that we have to have the council tell us whether or not we can remove one of the commissioners?
Because that's not the way it was told to me, basically.
I know. So I'm asking for clarity.
I'm saying that our local code states that a member can be removed for cause by the appointing authority. So if it's a mayoral appointment, the mayor would have to remove that person. In this case, all commission members on this commission are appointed by the city council. So the commission itself can't remove someone, but I think you certainly could bring it to the council's attention and request that they take action if you're seeing someone not attend your meetings. And that's happened before. We've had other commissions make a note.
Well, one person has has had to resign. So like they told me that they have to resign, they can't do it. So what am I supposed to do with that?
I think we're aware of that, and that person has been
I
removed.
think you're not aware of that.
This is a different person,
I
Mr.
bet
Lucas.
you're not, because they just told me yesterday, and I am telling you right now, so I bet you're
So
not aware of it.
that's why I wanted to stay on topic with the agenda. So could
Well,
we-
this is basically where we're at on the agenda.
exactly. So we are discussing attendance of Derek House and Matt Diaz.
If a member resigns, we would want that member to put something in writing, and that be shared with the council office so that we can alert the council members, and we can start the process of posting the opening alert.
Well, then there's somebody else gonna call them then, because since I don't really have any say or any authority or anything like that, and I just tried to reach out and call the person to find out what's going on, since I don't really have any.
You can let us know. I would send us an email and let us know what's going on.
What both of them said, and well, one person said they were going to be here, and obviously they're not. So you can do what you want with that. And then the other person had it. They have somebody that's sick in their family, and so they no longer can do it. So yeah. I was going to tell the commission about that and let them know what was going on. So.
Yes, if you could send us a follow-up email to let us know what conversations you've had, we'll try to get these folks to confirm in writing so that we can go ahead and post their seat and try to get a replacement if they want to resign.
Commissioner Johnson, did you have something that you needed to say?
Not about Derek and Matt. No, I apologize. I will lower my hand.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
The chair and I had been thinking about this, and it was necessary that we find out because all these emails are going to these other people. And we wanted to know what was happening with them. So that's how that happened, where we reached out to them. I wanted to make sure before any actions were done that it wasn't a issue of not being able to attend because they didn't have a computer, or they didn't have a phone, or there were other logistics that were making it difficult for them to come to meetings. And that isn't what we found out. And that's where we are now. And that is why we are going to be contacting the city council. And I just wanted to clarify that and clean that up a little bit for the sake of things. I believe it was, and if you would add to that, Chair, that might help for clarity.
What to that? That I contacted them because we didn't know what was going on. And once I got the information, I was going to let Becky know what was going on. But I haven't had the chance to do that because I had other things that I had to do this morning, and I didn't find out the information until last night.
And also, we weren't sure what the process was.
And we didn't know what
Yeah,
we were
that's all.
supposed to do because Becky's not there this week, so I haven't really been able to talk to her. So,
So I'm going to yield my time. I now saw a bunch of hands go up, so I'll lower mine.
Commissioner Mann?
Just a point of information, it's 2:23 right now, which means we have
Right.
7 minutes left in the meeting.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner
Sure.
Johnson?
I have a question. I'm confused. So was I correct in understanding that Commissioner Miller just said that you, Commissioner Brown Sparks, and her are going to go to the Common Council about these people, or are we going to have a discussion about whether we should go to the Common Council? Because once again, like, I don't have the full story on this, and this says regularly scheduled meetings, and none of our meetings are regularly scheduled. So until we have a regularly scheduled meeting, like, I think that this is kind of touch and go, whether or not we kick these people off. Now, if somebody, we need to find a regularly scheduled time that we know our meetings are going to be. And then if somebody then just blows it off consistently, then yeah, I can see removing them. But I don't necessarily think that it's right to just remove somebody because we're all willy-nilly all over the place, which we kind of aren't. So we're
But-
trying not to be, but
I believe you were asking me a question there.
well, I'm making a statement and
Okay.
in response to what I understood. If
Okay.
if you are, you know what I'm saying? I are we going as a group to?
So I can answer that as a statement kind of question. One person is resigning,
Okay, that's fine.
and the other person said did not say they wanted to resign. They said that they wanted to be a part of the commission, but they keep not showing up. And that was explained to him that it's written in the ordinance that they have to attend, and if they miss 3 regular meetings or 3 meetings, and they've all been posted, they've all been, that person's gotten the emails, he's been aware of them, and that person also didn't do the doodle polls and show any availability, so the reaching out has been done. So that's where we are with that person, and I think that we could probably say that the one person that's resigning, we could probably move forward with, and then maybe talk about the other one.
Well, I mean, as far as resigning goes, that person's just, it's on that person to deal with that. So we're kind of, that's moot. The other person, I just, because we haven't set our bylaws, which is the next thing, right? Which is
Right.
where we're going to discuss how we do everything.
Right.
And start ripping apart all those bylaws, which is going to take a lot of time. And I definitely would like to see a working group happen, and I would like to be on it. So that being said, also Najla mentioned problem solving. I would like to be involved in that working group as well. I'm done.
Okay. Well, I would just like to say that when I talked to the person yesterday, and I said, like, really, this is probably like one of your last chances if you want to do this commission. Like, coming to this meeting is one of your last chances if you want to still be a part of this. So the person knew that this was really important for them to be here today. So it wasn't like, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I know, but
It's not-
how is it that, do you get the authority to say that to them in the first place?
Because the letter that I got from Becky was saying that, like, we need to do something.
Okay,
So it
see,
wasn't-
I don't know what's
that's-
going on, you know, so like, that's what I'm saying. I know that we have people that's not showing up. I would also like for the people who aren't showing up and don't want to participate to be gone, so that, because we already have 1 vacancy that didn't get filled. So if we actually have 3, then we need to ask B Square Beacon to do a little thing about us, you know, whatever, and see if we can drum up, like, get some
And
more.
Becky has
Oh.
said to us that if
Yeah.
we know people that would like to be involved in the commission, or if we know people that would be a good person, then to send them to, like, a recommendation, or to let her know. So she's been, like, trying to get us to actively try and find other people. It's been encouraged. So, like, I'm not trying to dominate and say, like, we need to do this, but also I'm, like, trying to make sure that the stuff that I'm told needs to be done is done too. So, like, I feel like I am in the middle and trying to keep everything going at the same time. So
Welcome to the chair. You are in the middle.
I know, but I'm telling you, like, I can't just, like, not have anybody show up to the meeting and never respond and just be like, well, that's cool, don't come.
May I be
Please,
recognized, Chair?
Commissioner Miller.
What I think might be helpful for everyone on the commission is when decisions are made or discussions this large are happening, that it's shared with everyone on the commission and not just one person or two people, since we all have a voice. And then everybody's in the loop, so we don't spend 15, 20 minutes on an item because everybody has no idea what we were talking about. So maybe going forward, we can agree to do that. Keep everybody involved with it. And that way, at least, people know what's going on. That's all I'm saying. And now we only have 30 seconds and Mr. Lucas needs to be at a different place. So we need to be cognizant of his time and appreciative. And thank you, councilperson or Commissioner Mann, for being a timekeeper.
Thank you. Let's make a bylaw group, a working group, before Commissioner Monroe has to leave, because that's something you wanted to work on, isn't it?
I can, I just gotta go.
Oh, okay. Well,
If the
then
committee needs a
feel
vote,
free to-
then I'll stay on, but if not, if we can just
I
get going.
didn't know if that was something that you wanted to do or not. If not, you can leave. Then if
Do you want to participate in it if we make one?
Sure.
Okay. We'll email you about it.
Thank you.
There you go. So back,
Mr.
Chair, can I offer a suggestion? I would suggest that if anyone would like to participate in this working group, that they be able to. If you know folks don't want to sit in, then that's fine. I don't know that you need to pick a date right now, but we can send out a poll for both a work session on bylaws specifically that I suppose anyone could attend, and then the next regular meeting, as well as a permanent meeting time. So we'll reach out to you all with dates for those three things, if that's okay with everyone. I'm seeing a lot of head nods, but I'd suggest, yeah, opening it up to anyone that would like to come to that work session on bylaws, if that's acceptable to you all.
It would be great if we could have that work session on bylaws before our next meeting. Thanks. That's all.
Yes.
Yes, that was the plan.
Thank
And
you so
I've
much.
seen a question on whether the working group decides on the bylaws or makes a recommendation. I think what would happen if, and this is just my assumption, is that the work session wouldn't take any final action, but it would
We can't
draft for
vote
the full
on anything
commission's
in the work
consideration.
We're not allowed to make to vote on anything in a work session, so it would have to go.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. There was talking over each other. Could you finish, Mr. Lucas?
I was, I think, agreeing with the chair that the working session would just be to create a draft to bring to the full commission for your consideration. And I know that might be a bit of a kind of a, fiction if the whole commission attends the working session, but it would be something that you'd recommend to the full commission for final action at a regular meeting.
Thank you.
And then I said what I was told, that we're not allowed to make a vote in a work session, that we have to do it in a regular scheduled meeting. So
That's correct.
sorry if that bothered you.
No, not at all. I just wanted to make sure I was
That's
hearing.
what I
you.
said.
So do I need to make a motion, or does somebody need to make a motion that we have a work group, or is that we're just gonna have one? Because if not, I make a motion that we have a working group on the bylaws. I don't know how to follow these rules.
I second it.
I third it.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on that? Or did we? Okay,
I think you.
I believe we do now because
Okay.
because the motions have been made. So roll call.
Commissioner Outsum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jagdish,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Lake,
Aye.
Aye. 7 ayes and 0 nays. So it passes.
So
Yes.
just briefly, before we have to end, I just wanted to confirm what we'll do between now and the next time we meet. We'll send out a poll to schedule a work session on bylaws that will be held before your next regular meeting. We'll send out a poll for your next regular meeting, and we may also send out a poll for the permanent regular meeting time and dates. And that will need to be something that we decide in conjunction with all the other groups in the city that are returning to in-person meetings. We'll need to find an actual meeting space for you all to meet, and that will involve looking at when other boards and commissions and throughout the city are meeting as well. So stay tuned. We'll be in touch with requests for your availability for all of those things.
And Mr. Lucas, is there any way for me to get a transcript
Of the meeting today?
Yeah, because I'm on my phone and it won't let me download it or anything weird. So I don't know how to, just for my
Yes.
minute.
I will email that to you.
Thank you so much.
How do you download the transcript?
I believe if anyone else would like to get that, if you click on my screen, it says more at the bottom and view full transcript.
I can view it. I just can't download it. So I don't know.
And then, yeah, it may depend on your device.
Okay. So thank you so much and enjoy your next meeting. Sorry for taking up all of your time.
No, that's okay. I'm going to hop off. If you all do decide to keep discussing anything, someone will need to record any motions made. So you all should be, I'm going to turn over the hosting to the chair, if that's okay, or would you like me to make Renee the host?
You can make Renee the host. Yes, Commissioner Miller.
So the question is, I suppose, I think I heard that there'll be a doodle poll for both meetings. I was wondering if we could actually set a meeting since we're all here, and then use the doodle poll going forward to find out what's going to work for all the rest of the other meetings.
We're actually missing someone.
Did we lose somebody?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That was my one question. And other than that, I was just going to make a motion to adjourn. But I'm not doing that because I want to hear from everybody else.
Commissioner Johnson.
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm not muted. Sorry, I couldn't tell if I was muted or not. I just wanted to say thank you so much. And we actually got through this agenda. I think this was a great second meeting. I think both of the chairs did a great job. And I think we're getting somewhere. I appreciate being heard about the elections being postponed until after we go through our bylaws. And I truly look forward to going through our bylaws with everyone. And I do wish and hope, like Mr. Lucas says, that everyone chooses to attend that working group. So, because I think it's all, many hands make light work. And, I only, I only know so much, but together we know a lot. I don't know everything, but together we know way more. So like, it's important that we decolonize these bylaws. Thanks so much. And I will make a motion to adjourn unless other people have any other.
Can I second it? Just kidding.
I was typing, so I didn't hear the motion.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for a good meeting.
Yeah, I think it was a good meeting too. I think we got somewhere. So. All right. Did I hear any motions? Does somebody want to make a motion so we can adjourn?
We did that.
That's what I
Somebody
said.
needs to-
Did somebody say something? I didn't hear it.
Somebody needs to second it because I don't think the chair is allowed to
I
second.
can't second
I'll
it, really,
second
but-
it.
Oh, I'll second it.
Second it. We have lots of seconds here.
All
Right.
right, can we take a vote?
Yes.
Vote to adjourn.
Yep. Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
All right. Commissioner Mann.
Aye.
Commissioner Lake.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Aye. All 6 of us against 0 nays. We're out of here.
Okay. Y'all
Thank
have a
you,
great
Sarah.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll see you at the work
Thank you.
meeting.